Alright, welcome back to the flight deck. Today we're going to get the engines up. I'm going to turn off the track IR because it's easier just to hold the camera in place using the other switches and not having it bounce around as we're doing this. So, checklists and procedures are all on the website. That's where the documentation is. There is no PDF type manual that you can download at this point in time, but the checklists are pretty good and they are there. So once again, we have a couple different sections. We have the pedestal, which is located down here. We have the engine instruments located in here. There's our caution and advisory panel. Radios and all that type of stuff is here. Pilot's instrument set up on this side. We have the first officer co-pilots over on this side. And on the overhead, we have all the other switches that we are going to need. And a couple of interesting things. We have missile warnings and neat stuff like that there. Some of it's modeled, most of it's modeled, a couple things aren't, but that's okay. So we're going to go through our pre-start checklist now. So we're going to come up top to the overhead panel. It's broken into a couple sections. Basically engines and fuel are in the middle, and then we've got things like lighting and hoist controls and other stuff around the edges, which we'll get to as we go. So we're going to work our way down. So EAPS engine fans, we're going to make sure that the doors and are off and the fan doors are closed, fans are off. So engine 1 and engine 2, those are doors on the engines for allow air cooling and stuff for the turbines inside. So we're going to make sure that is all off and closed. External lights are here. So our position lights are set to dim. We are in normal mode. Now, as this is a tactical helicopter, if we went into NVG, it would show in ultraviolet, I think, lighting, so that night vision goggles would pick it up, but you couldn't see it with regular eyes. Anti-collision lights, top and bottom, are both set to off. And we're going to go through at the moment, and I'm going to turn all the lights up. These are your panel lights, and they're kind of spread about over the aircraft. I'm going to set them all to dim. And you can see you've got the co-pilot lighting, the instruments and consoles, and then you come down, go back up to top. Here's our main lighting for the center section. There's our consoles, stick position indicators, looking for lights. Come over to this side, and here's your pilot side. Dial that up. Of course, you need these on at night as well for anything that you had there. We'll just come down, make sure they are all done, and there's no more down here. Yep, we're all good. There are switches. It does tell you to do them, but I'll do them all at the same time just to make sure they are all done. All right, so co-pilot lighting is done, and we've turned that all to dim, and you can see co-pilot spotlight search control is off, and that is good there. Compass switch is going to slaved. That is fine. And then going to come down to our troop jump warnings. We'll make sure the alarm is off and that is set in the middle. We'll come down to our heaters. That is off, and the cabin temperature. It is kind of wintry here in March, so we'll set it up into the mid section there. So that is done. Cockpit lighting again is all done. Electrical switches are off, battery is off, APU is off, the generators are all off. So central lighting is, the cockpit lighting is done as required. Down to the fuel switches, we're going to make sure that the crossfeed switch is off and all fuel tank switches are off. Refueling station switch is off as well. I'm going to make sure the engine condition levers are in stop. Our start switch is in the center position, which is stopped as well. The NR switch, which is our FADEC NR, is set to 100. Our pry and prev switches are both set to pry. Backup power switch over here is set to off, And our load share switch is set to torque. If we look down, we can see TRK, or TRQ for torque. Internal lighting back up over here is good. Everything is currently off. I don't want that. It's a problem with having this all the way up at the top. We'll turn the internal lighting on. We can leave the floods off. We have our emergency exit lights. Can go to arm. And this is our dome light. We can go white off, and again night vision goggles, but daytime we'll leave that as off. Over to pilot lighting. We've already got the searchlight control off. We're not using the searchlight today, and our lighting is set to dim. Anti-ice is all off. Our hoist switch is set to off. Switch here you can use to cut the cable. I don't think it's modeled. And all of our hoist for whether we're in tandem or if we're in single, or how that is working is all set, and that is fine. We're not going to be using the hoist today, so it is not a worry. So coming down to hydraulic transfers 1 and 2 are both off. Hydraulic flight control switch is off. And the emergency ramp is guarded, power steering is guarded, and our emergency ramp power and everything is, our ramp power is set to on, and we are good there. So if we come down to the center console, fire pull handles are both pushed in. Our VGI switches are all set in normal, and we are good there. I'm going to move down here to our AFCS switch is set to auto. System select is set to off. And that is good. We are set up and ready to go. So to power up the aircraft, that is the next checklist we're going to run. So we'll pop back up top. All right, the battery switch, which is down here, is going to come on. Caution light test. Let's see if I can find that switch. It's probably going to be down here somewhere. Oh, we can see all the lights starting. There we are. Caution light test. Everything is up and looking good. And that's not come off. You can hear things starting to spool up in the back. And the caution lights will. Not sure if they actually go. Well, they go in a little bit brighter. They're set to dim as right now. So back up top, we're going to come down to the APU. APU switch is going to go to run. We'll give it a second, and we're going to come to the back. Now this does have an APU like a jet. APU exhaust is right there. So we'll start the APU. See the exhaust heat coming off it now. Alright, with that up and running, I'm going to pop down here. I don't know if you can notice there's a slight illumination tinge to those lights now. We're going to come back to our load here, and we'll go to internal, and we're going to turn off the load just to make sure. There we go. Alright, so with the APU up and running, we're going to come down to the APU generator switch and turn it on. And the APU generators are now running. These engines are electric start, so you need the APU generator on. Hydraulic power transfer switch. There's two. 1 and 2 are now on. Parking brake lever. You can see it right here. It is pulled out and the parking brake is on. FADEC backup power is now turned on. Engine condition levers are both in stop. EPS fan switches are both coming on. Doors will both come open as well. And the troop warning switch on for 10 seconds. Now, don't know if I actually found that switch. Won't worry about it. We're not taking any troops today. But that is the startup. Now, if we look down, we can see the pedals there, and you can see the rotors twisting. If we come out and look up, that is our rudder control. So basically, it turns the flat plane of the rotors, and that gives us our left and right. We have, of course, our forward and back on the cyclic, left and right on the cyclic, and we showed you the rudders. So it is all working very well. All right, we are good for engine start. So we're going to pop up top once again. Now for the engine start, what you would normally have is the flight engineer would get out the front door on the side behind the pilot here, and he'd check the front, and the load master would go down the ramp and out, and he'd stand outside, make sure everything was clear in the back. So we're going to come over here to the left main fuel pump switch. So there's two on the left side. We're going to turn them both on. We're going to turn the crossfeed on as well. Engine condition lever for engine number 1 is going to go to ground. And we're going to come down here. We're going to be watching our N1. I just got to find our N1 until it is at 10%. Here it is, N1. So we're going to watch for this to come up. So this is times percent. So we're going to do the engine start on until 10%. So once it goes past 10%, we'll turn to start off. And then we're just going to let her run up and monitor the gauges. So up over to the overhead. Everything is on here. We're going to go to engine start for number 1. Didn't work. Oh, for some reason it was up in test. It should have been in the off position. I clicked it once thinking that would take it down, but it didn't. So the generators are now on. It's now pulling power. You can see it coming up. N1, there's 8%, 9%. We're through 10%. The start switch can come off. And we're back to monitoring. The N1's coming up. You can see the temperature coming up. Oil temperature is starting to rise. Oil pressure is up. We've also got rotor RPM showing and our engine torque. Of course, everything is connected. The thing about this helicopter is you can see the blades are interwoven. So as they rotate through this blade here, when it comes and is facing directly back to this engine, these two blades are perfectly in a V, so they will never touch. And if you look at the angle they're on, They're on slightly different angles. This one's tilted a bit further forward, so their planes are intersecting at an angle as well. Very ingenious design. Alright, engine 1 instruments within 45 seconds. The N1 should be less than or greater than 50%, which it is, and engine oil pressure should be greater than 5 psi, which it is. Oil transmission pressure, which is there's your transmission pressure, is above 10. Or sorry, that's temperature. Not sure where that one is, but we're all good. So we're going to pop up top. We're going to bring it into flight position. Actually, I got ahead of myself there. We're going to leave it in ground. So that all done, and we're good for that startup. We're going to come to engine number 2. It's going to go into ground. Start switch is going to go into number 2. And we can watch down here, and we'll see engine number 2 starting to come up. Waiting for it to get through 10%. Alright, she's through 10%. Start switch can go off. Again, we're going to be watching. Oh, looks like I didn't hold it long enough. Alright, let's try that again. Might be better to leave it a little bit longer. Still a little bit finicky. It should be good. Oh, apologies for that. Gotta get the fuel. The crossfeed should be working to supply fuel to the other side, but I thought they had fixed that. They had not. That's why you only, in the checklist, you only have to turn on the 2 left side tanks in the crossfeed, because it's supposed to feed from the left over for engine start on the right. There she goes. Alright, so that start switch can come off. You can see both engines are up, temperatures are balancing, everything is coming up. We are looking good. So back up top with everything good, we're going to bring both engines up into flight mode. Engine generators for 1 and 2 are going to go on. APU generator switch will now go off. APU will go off. Hydraulic power transfers 1 and 2 switches will come off. Engines are working on their own now. And we are all good. So we're going to turn on the rest of the fuel pumps. And we are up and ready to go. So the interesting thing about this aircraft is that it has wheels, as you can see in the diagram here. And it is steerable, so you actually taxi this aircraft, and get it ready to go. So all the fuel pumps are on. We're going to come down here to our switch. So with the switch in the back position, it is locked. If we go to the middle position, it will just be free castering. But if we go forward, we'll be able to steer. So we're going to go all the way forward. We're going to bring up our map. And we are going to use this runway here as our departure. You can see it's got a little helicopter zone on it. Winds are out of the west, but they're very light. So we're just going to roll out of here and take off towards the south. But we're going to do that in the next video. Aircraft is up and running. We're going to get the crew on board. Next one, we're going to taxi out, take off, and we will fly around a bit. So hope you join us for that one. Thanks for watching. See you then.